know from your perspective.
I'm with you in those as well.
I mean, you've been in the league almost as long,
Are you
if not
asking,
longer.
are you asking me a question, Joe?
Almost as long. Yeah.
Who's your favorite broadcaster?
I just, yeah, besides yourself.
Is there an arch enemy broadcaster?
But seriously though, at what point did you? Because you see it probably better than all of us.
Yeah.
At what point were you like, uh-oh, this is getting big?
I'm trying to remember when there was that tipping point for me, because I remember those Cotton Bowl games, and I remember Lockhart Stadium, and there was always this, I felt like every year on the television side, we were always trying to find that magic potion, like this will work, this time slot, this day, this venue, this game, these players, and it wasn't clicking because I think people were forcing it almost too much, and these things have to happen naturally and be organic. I mean, like what we're seeing in Seattle and Portland and even Vancouver, like that just happened. That blew up like, holy cow, look at these things. And no one was expecting it, and no one was banging out billboards and signing superstars. It just happened, and the community, obviously the soccer community has changed. I think that's probably the whole tipping point, is that now there's guys like us who are parents, or husbands and have kids, and we're raising them soccer fans, and we're not taking them to the baseball game or the basketball game, football game. We're taking them to MLS. We're watching on TV. I think that's where kind of the tipping point happened for me, when I can have conversations with kids, or I go to schools. You know, you came down and you read for my son, and down at that playground, it's all soccer jerseys. They're playing soccer, and it's all soccer jerseys, and it was never that way.
Your kids know more about MLS than
Crazy
I do.
how much they know about it. I mean, you walk in, they're like, holy cow, it's Landon Donovan, and it's boom, a swarm, where in the past, there wasn't that recognition.
I think you hit on hit a good chord there. It's authentic and it's organic. And when we started, there was a lot of marketing, and there was a lot of trying to just throw things against the wall and see if they worked. And I think as the league matured and evolved, and now we have clubs named FC Dallas as an example, it became more authentic. And I think as people grew up and they did transfer this on to their kids and brought them to MLS games, I just think you see this exponential growth in terms of relevancy to the league.
And I think all the expansion teams since Philadelphia, I mean, it's been a no-brainer. I mean, the Canadian teams, what a welcome they've been to this league.
Toronto was incredible.
And the fans up there are so incredible. Playing in Vancouver and seeing the Cascadia rivalries, for me it was great to see, because coming from San Jose, it gave me a good impression on how we can kind of help, get that same type of following moving forward in that market. But it's just been a revelation.
The supporters culture has changed, right? So when we were first playing in 1996, we had families and kids who were playing youth soccer, and now the supporters culture are millennials and 18 to 34-year-olds, and the counterculture exists, and the fans and what they do and the tifos and everything they bring are so important to our league, and I think that has just completely changed the dynamic of our league.
Do you guys think that's like intentional, that MLS and soccer, U.S. soccer, have marketed purposely towards that, and you may know better? Or is that just that millennials just love this? I mean, millennials can't stand watching baseball.
Yeah, I
they
think
like
they're
football. They maybe basketball, but they love soccer.
I just think they're disenfranchised with the major sports, because they're very corporate. It's very difficult to go. It's very expensive to go. Our sport is very different, and it lends itself to the millennial. It lends itself to people who are more creative, more artistic. So I think that's been a big part of why we've been able to capture that segment.
I think too, that's a great segue into the fans. I mean, through this 20 years, you have to think to yourself, these diehard fans, from the beginning, what they've seen and gone through, and it's amazing how a majority of them have kept with the league and kept buying tickets, kept buying scarves, kept coming to the games, and I think now they're starting to really see the fruitions of real rivalries and the media, corporate America kind of jumping on, and you have to think that Commissioner Don Garber is also a guy that's been instrumental in the growth. I mean, when I first got into the league, everyone was like, what's going on? And ever since he's kind of taken the reins, it's almost been like he's just had a magic wand.
We'll go one more big picture type question, then we'll go back to having some fun. What's that next tipping point? I'll start with you, Goose, because you're heavily involved in the league on that league level and headquarters type thing. What's that next tipping point for MLS to elevate itself up into the upper echelon of the world's best leagues?
I think it's, well, obviously it's always product quality, right? It's how good can we be on the field, Can we compete against some of the top leagues in the world? But TV is the next frontier for us. Our average attendance is better than the NBA and the NHL, but we still need to make a dent in the TV part of it. And I think bringing in the players like Pirlo and Lampard and Gerrard and just the number of quality players that have come in, and the investment of our owners and everything from stadiums to youth academy and player recruitment, I think will pay huge dividends in putting essentially the best product we can onto the field.
Agreed. I think it's about the product now, because we're getting all the other pieces right, and the product on the field is getting better and better and better, and you just it has to keep going that way, my opinion.
I just think it's just the attention to the smaller details now. You know, the money, like the investment of the owners, that just continues in this direction. I mean, you can't turn your head, you can't ignore it anymore. I mean, the growth is, it's there. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to games and players. Best game ever. Somebody handed me a very well written note. I can't read it. Whose horrible handwriting that is, Jason Seguini.
The comp ball?
Best game ever. I think that says the comeback. Not comma ball, not CONCACAF. The comeback. When I say the comeback, do you guys all know what that means?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me, Goose, start us off.
Well, there's actually a guy looking to do a documentary on that, but it's interesting. It was a game played against LA, a home and away series, where we wound up in the first game being down 2-0, coming back to our place, and wound up being down another 2 goals within the first 15 or 20 minutes. So ultimately we're down 4-0 with about 65, 70 minutes to play. And the short story is we wound up scoring 5 goals and going on to the conference finals against Kansas City. But the destiny in that game, I think there's just so many talking points in terms of just how unlikely that is. And I've never played in a game anywhere close to that, and I obviously never will, but I don't think I'll ever be part of something like that had so many turns, and just, you know, at 4-0 and then 4-1 and 4-2, we're thinking, oh, we may have a chance, and when we scored the 3rd goal, it was as if there was some manifest destiny to get us to the final.
So for some reason, so we go to LA and we lose 2-0. We play really poorly. And for some reason, and there's certain games, I don't know if you guys felt this way, there's probably 20 games in my career where I walked into the locker room and I get like chills. And I just knew there was something different. I don't know if it was like energy, there was just something different. And being in that locker room before the game, I just felt something different. It was like everybody walked in, like it was very stoic, there was like business. But then all of a sudden we go down 2 goals. So you're on this high, like we can beat them, we can get 2 goals back, no problem. And all of a sudden you go down 2 goals in that game and it's 4-0. And the important thing was, whenever you're in a game, they always say, well, just get the first goal back. If you're down 2-0, just get 1, the second will come. If you're down 3-1, just get 1, you know. The important thing was we got the first goal, your free kick, right? So he scores a great free kick. And now all of a sudden there's just a little bit of momentum. So it's like, all right, we're not going to embarrass ourselves at least. And then we score the second goal right before halftime, which I think was really important. Yeah, Jamil made that great run. Yeah. Really important to get that. Now we go into the locker room, and we had played teams all year and scored 2 goals in 1 half. So it was like, we're down 4-2, but 2 goals, we can do that. So then we get the 3rd, and then there was, like you said, this errand of inevitability. We score the 4th and go into overtime, and then it was just a matter of time until we won it. I mean, we could feel it.
And that game was emblematic of our season. I mean,
Totally.
In 2001, we were, I think, one of the best teams in the league, and we went through it and won the cup. But in 2003, I wouldn't say we were one of the best teams, but we were one of the most exciting teams where we were always down and had to come back. And that 2-game series was, I think, very, very a microcosm of our entire season that year. Yeah. And we had the same, issue in the next series with Kansas City. And so we were always down but never out.
What do you remember about LA's reaction on the field, on the bench, as this comeback was happening?
I don't. I mean,
there was some. I remember some conversation about whether Ziggy should have put Alexi in or some, tactical switch. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It really wouldn't have mattered.
Could have put 4 extra players.
Because it was literally we were going to win that game hands down. There was no other way. So I don't think it. I don't think there was anything anybody could do.
Right. We've seen so many players come through this league. Good, bad, indifferent, lost. Give me a name that no one will remember, but you will remember for some oddball reason that you came across on the field, in the locker room, whether they're there for a tryout, a 2-week, a whole season?
Well, I have, okay. Let me think it through.
I mean,
Go, Joe.
I have a bunch of them. I mean, when I was younger, there a guy named Adam Fry.
Yeah.
I mean, just coming in, I thought, this guy's just an incredible person. When I was in Colorado, a kid named Jordan Sela. Yeah, and like, I just think names like those two guys are, you know, like they didn't make their marks on leagues, but they were really popular amongst, you know, their teammates and stuff like that. And the fans, you know, because they weren't playing day in, day out, they weren't getting the attention in their idea. But those guys, you know, those are names that I think, like, when I look back, are like, you know, players I wish I would have played with those types of people a bit more, just positive role models, you know, on and off the field.
We had guys in all of my teams that really contributed. I mean, guys like Jimmy Walker, who was with us with San Jose, and Chris Ronier. And these guys are not household names, but they played a part of that championship. And it's those guys. I mean, they are representations of guys that were journeymen and believed in the league and were never big names and made the league what it is. And I think without those guys and without, you know, guys that are sitting up here, this league wasn't possible. And so I think there's a lot of credit to those guys who people don't know that played a huge part of this league.
I'll take that one step further. There was a guy we played with a few years ago, Dustin McCarty, who's Dax McCarty's brother. Never played a second the whole year, but was, along with other guys, at training every day, pushing the other guys every day. And he actually got one chance. We played Man City in a friendly at StubHub Center. And so at the end of the game, all the guys who didn't play much got in, and it went to a penalty shootout. And so it's his turn to go up and take a penalty against Joe Hart, right? And I'm thinking, this guy's, I mean, he's going to soil himself. Like, you know, it's like Joe Hart, you know? And he walks up, runs up to the ball, like, fakes like he's going that way, and just calmly rolled it the other day and laid Joe Hart down the other side. And I was like, what? We were looking on the bench like, are you kidding? He was so cool, calm, and collected. And the best part was, next preseason, he ended up getting cut after preseason the next year. But I was in the locker room with him, and this is so great. And then we were sitting talking. I said, how are you feeling? And he's like, good. And I said, how, you know, you excited about the season? What's your objectives, your goals, whatever? And he's like, well, you know, just really happy. So he had been a rookie the year before. He said, I'm really happy. You know, after my first year, I already got a ring on my finger. And I was just thinking, you didn't play 1 minute. But he felt like he was part of it. It was so cool, you know? So that was a cool story. And then one name that just popped in my head was Pando Ramirez.
Yes.
What a story that guy was, because he didn't score a goal all year in 05, and then he scored the winner against New England.
MLS Cup.
Yeah, in the MLS Cup final. He had led the league in shots and didn't score a goal.
I think the key for me in terms of my career was that the championships were great and the wins were fantastic, but it's getting to know these guys, the guys in the locker room, getting to know their families and creating that bond and that relationship, for me, that's irreplaceable.
And I got to give a shout out to all the goalies that had to put up with me when I was playing. The other goalies
and the defenders,
well,
and the midfielders, and the forwards.
But the second goalie, like, when, you know, they don't play, and there are so many guys that I could think of in my career, from John Conway, Scott Vallow, Byron Fawcett. I just want to give a shout out that never got their moment.
The beauty.
They made my
beauty
career
of this
so
league.
much. Yeah,
the beauty of 20
it's just
years,
crazy
the
to
names
think,
and the stories.
Those kind of guys, like all the backup goalies out there, you'll get your chance. And if not, I still love you. Like, that's just what I want to say.
We could do this for about another 18 hours, 20 hours. 20 years. Guys, thanks for joining us in the MLS Digital Hub Center here in Denver. And that's it. 20-year square table, rectangular table conversation with 3 MLS legends. Hope you enjoyed.